So we're going to get you to stand up a minute over there. That's just being helpful. Leave your computers open, you can come back here in a minute. This is Vaughan, I'm Jared, we all know each other now, from Ulladulla High. With just around those two middle tables, just make a bit of a circle around there and we'll give you some further instruction as we go over there.
It's tomorrow's
All right, some of you might know this positive primer if you went to the last DP conference. It's the gift, the invisible gift that you give someone else, and the other person, the receiver, has to give a really big gratitude smile, silently, no words, silently, gratitude smile of thank you very much, but it's all body language, okay? And then the receiver gives back a gift to the first person. Okay, so it only takes, you only need to team up with someone next to you, and it's a bit of drama. It's whatever size or shape gift you want to give. You're presenting it beautifully to this person, and the person has to receive with gratitude, huge gratitude, okay? There's a reason behind this, believe me, okay? Go for it. Team up the person next to you.
There we go. Oh, someone just got a pair up. Okay. Yeah, Jared, you have to be there, Jared. Otherwise, you haven't got you paired up. Oh, no, you're running.
You're facilitating. And then the other person gives them back a gift. Beautiful. All right. Now, we're going to switch that up a little bit. So, same thing, exactly the same, except you receive gratitude by speaking. And you can say what you think that gift is. You actually name the gift. The person who gives it just gives a gift. They don't know what the hell it is. But the person who receives it names the gift and is so thankful for that. Okay? Go for it.
Thank you. The commissioner go early. I've always wanted a candle.
Then you return the favour. Okay. Last one. This is a new one. We just made this one up. The giver will give a gift every 2 seconds. The receiver has to keep being thankful for that gift, more thankful every time. So up to about 10 seconds, you keep giving and giving your gift every 2 seconds. Okay. Try that.
Is it still like a...
It's a different gift every time, a different gift every time, different shape. Every 2 seconds you're giving a new one.
Realise it's Friday afternoon.
Yes.
At the end of week 6,
That's
right?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring it back. Come on, you know. So, just any thoughts about that process? What you did? How did you feel when I said you're going to do this, and how did you feel afterward? Or any
Looked like you two were enjoying it.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, a good time. Any thoughts just about the process itself? It's just a positive primer. We do it all the time with junior kids, get them into the lesson, but we try to make it connect to something. But anything that you felt there?
It felt worse, like, before doing it than actually doing it and after doing it. Like, I feel like I've had a bit of a laugh now, so it's all good, but I was like, oh.
You feel better after doing it?
Yeah. You know when you have to, like, psych yourself up for doing, like, a activity?
That's always...
I thought it was going to be harder.
So building on that, if you'd done it last year, I think at the DP State Conference, you're like, oh yeah, I know this one, I'm all good. So you don't have to feel that stress.
Yep.
So building on practice as a kid as well.
I'll never forget the cat that I received.
Anytime.
It was a movie about that. What about the third one, when you kept getting the gift? Any comments on that?
Got my heart rate up.
How'd you feel?
With it. Yeah, it was fun. A bit animated, I guess.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for the giver. They looked tired or trying to think. And You can stop now.
Any words that come up that you, as the receiver, that you felt for that last one?
I felt like a bit hopeless. Like, I feel like I probably needed to do some of the giving and help out, because I was just like, okay, like it lost its meaning. I think that it had to lose its meaning.
Okay. Nice. Anyone else?
Just got a bit silly at the end.
Crazy, silly, a bit overwhelmed. Anyone feel a bit overwhelmed? Too many gifts. All right. So, did you want to?
Yeah. We'll invite you to just take a seat here, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. There's a reason behind that. We'll get to it later.
Gifts on Snapchat, except they're not good gifts. They're inappropriate gifts. No more of those. Alright, so we'll jump straight in, and we'll connect the two in a second. And the reason we call this the positive primer, the gift that keeps on giving, is because we're talking about AI and leadership. And just to give you a bit of context, this is a website, there's an AI for that, and as of about 2 days ago, when I took the screenshot, there was 31,513 AI tools on the marketplace at the moment. When I did this about 6 months ago, it was about 7,000. So it's that never-ending cycle. You just got to get more and more thrown at you in regards to this ever-growing space, because everyone's trying to get a bit of a piece of that pie. So those feelings, you know, where it's fun to begin with, and then it gets a bit overwhelming with, I can't keep receiving these things, or we're looking at, actually it wasn't as bad because I knew about this before. So we're just linking the two with accepting AI and how we can look at it. And it's not about understanding all 31,000 of these. We're going to look at how do we really save us some time. So today you're going to have this bit of a learning journey. Every learner, it doesn't matter what you're learning, will go on this sort of experience. So we're going to go, it looks like fun, yeah, sounds cool, be a bit of engagement. It starts to get hard. We start looking at things you might not know. And you're like, well, look, I've got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep on going. You're like, yes, smashed it, smashed that achievement. And then you go, oh, actually, I don't know. It's really not what I'm thinking. Then we get to this point, you go, oh crap, I have no idea what I'm doing. And this is what we call the valley of despair. This is where most learners go, no, I'm done. I'm going to do the new thing. I'm going to switch paths, jump on the new idea.
It has a soundtrack, the valley of despair. Very doom, gloom, like Darth Vader walking into the place. Just on that point, there's an ad that keeps popping up when I do the endless scroll. I don't know, you would have seen it. It's take a month off your job and go learn these AI, and you'll make yourself into a millionaire or whatever it's promising to do. Anyone seen that? Yeah. I kept thinking, 1 month I could do that. Because I think, especially a bad day on a Friday, I could do that 1 month, I could learn all these. And they're just the things that they just do everything for you. But what we want to do here is look at what can save a deputy time by using certain AI and making it contextual to your background, your school, and your policies and procedures.
So if you stick with it, you'll go, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense. And then you'll look at, did I actually just make this? And then you'll go, oh yeah, you've got this big sense of achievement. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to really, as Joe already said, the aim of any education is to save us time in what we're doing. And we've heard it so many times today, even when we're looking at all these things that are coming at us, of when are we supposed to fit this in? How are we supposed to do that? So Jed and I, behind the scenes, have really been focusing on this for us in our practice. How do we actually save time? So there's two things we're going to cover. First, we're just going to look at our experience, because you want to see success. You don't want to see, hey look, you're going to give us these new ideas, but just like the $1 million idea, they'll show you they'll sell you the destination, but they don't show you the journey that you've actually taken to do that. And it might take a month, but in reality it'll take a lot longer. But the main takeaway was we're going to give you some step-by-step frameworks So by the end of it, you're going to have your own AI bot assistant to actually save you time, and we'll share our ones that we were actually
You get to name it, you get to program it, you get to give it a personality. Okay, it does something with a personality around your context by the end of this session.
So let's just jump back a couple of years. When I first heard about AI chatbots, I was like, oh, awesome. My brother's a winemaker, he makes wine down in the Yarra Valley, and I was like, sick, I'm going to make a chatbot for his website. So I went on like a 48-hour binge learn on YouTube on like how to make a chatbot, and I, spent an entire weekend getting it in there, and then I got to a hurdle and I couldn't do it because I didn't have the coding expertise that I needed, and then there was this giant paywall that they didn't advertise until I got, like nearly 2 days into this process. So I went, stuff it, and I gave up. And that's where I got into the valley of despair, and I just put it aside and I left. But fast forward a couple of years since then, that was 2022, then last year, or 2 years ago now, I came here and we shared what we were doing, but there was other things. I wanted to test, we found that those academic skills weren't actually getting taught for our students for stage 6. Didn't have the time to program it, didn't have the time to develop all the resources. One day in my crew meeting with a year advisor and the head teacher of wellbeing, I basically said, look, we need this program, we can see our kids need this. So I pulled up Grammarly Go that was already embedded in my Google Doc, and I just quickly went, write me a 10-week sequential learning program for academic skills at this level. And then wham, here was my program, and then I did it with a couple other AIs to get the resourcing, and that's our kids doing the thing, using our processes, 4Cs, with the content that we needed to deliver. And then that was translated to the whole school. So we basically just said, hey, look, this worked, here you go. This is going to save you some time in the structures. So that's a little bit what we did, but I needed some more expertise. So we partnered with Nikki Sweeney. She's a doctor based up in Milton. She runs all sorts of professional development and can provide you some training if you want more hands-on stuff. She covers a lot. She's super responsive and really keen to help out with any school in our sort of network. And she came and presented to our executive team all about AI co-teachers. And it was just a 20-minute session. And Jared and I walked away and this is fantastic. Exactly what we're going to do. So that's pretty much what we've been doing in the last 6 to 12 months of just figuring out how do these things work and what can we do to actually implement them in our practice.
The big thing that we took away from Nikki Sweeney is what we're going to show you today was POE, P-O-E, and to program POE takes you 10 minutes to make any type of bot, so that's what we're going to use. I could even do it with my limited experience. I went and did it in 5 minutes, and this is a good example of it. Potato incident, right. So I wanted to make a bot that I could load. Do you know how you're doing the new behaviour program? SBS. So the new behaviour program, and I wanted a bot that any deputy could or any head teacher could put in an incident, take out the names, change the name, the context, put an incident in, and it would spit out using our behaviour policy and the department's suspension expulsion policy, plus anything else you wanted to feed into it, any other document. We even fed in some low socioeconomic values, some stuff from Berry Street, that sort of thing. And it will come up with strategies of what you should do. Now, we don't do this every time we have a suspension or make a decision, but it's come up really with those picky parents about why is this kid suspended and why this one isn't, or this should be a suspension or it shouldn't be a suspension. We've all had those experiences. And Potato Incident is one of those experiences where I've used the bot and I've actually showed the parent who was a teacher in the school, which became a bit of a tricky situation. And I used the bot to actually help show her how the policies work by putting in a scenario. So the Potato Incident happened in the ag plot, of course. One student, called him Victor, he's the victim. The other one's Brad, the bully. Changed the names, of course. So Victor was being picked on by Brad. I think Victor actually lightly threw a potato at him, and so Brad's caught him everything on the sun. The teachers come in and said you can't do that, and then teachers walked away and said, if that happens again, I'll do some consequences there. Brad's then picked up the potato and threw it really hard at Victor's head, just missed him. He hit the shed and bang, big sound, teachers come over. Now Victor is the son of a teacher, okay, so Victor was very scared by the incident, the potato always took his head off. But when we took it to I was acting principal at the time, took it to the DP, the DP said it's going to be a caution suspension for Brad. Now I had a lot of problems with that. The parent, who was a teacher, said it should be a suspension. We went through the policies, and I wrote it into the chatbot, and have we got that? So this is what the chatbot did.
So to give you context, that's just a central report that's just been de-identified. Now I don't pause it here, but what you're seeing is those little hyperlinks, they go to this, and this is all the knowledge that it's pulling from our policy, the department's policy, our tiers of support, and it's actually referencing where it's getting it from.
So, unless you're a speed reader, you can get that. So the incident went in, the chatbot pulled all the information out and said that Brad should have a caution or suspension, okay? And a whole heap of other things should happen based on those little documents that are in there. And it just justified the decision making from the deputy. Then, when the parent was there, I said, look, I've got this document that I can read to you, but I've got this chatbot that actually reads it for me, and I put the situation into it. And the parent said, okay, right in there, what would happen now if the potato hit you in the head? And I did that. We came up, instant suspension, blah, 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 had the new guidelines come up, and she went up. So if it hit him, he would have been suspended. If it didn't hit him, yes. Plus he'd had no negative incidents before. He had no record. This student who was early in the year, he's now got 3, but anyway. But so there was nothing else. He wasn't on a caution, so we had to do the caution. And so it just helped me, and it helps on the phone a lot to have the details in front of you to say to those picky parents, and you can just stick to the details, because sometimes you get flustered. And it just helped, and it's so quick and instant. And then if you want to add other documents to it and make it a bit more broader, you can do that. But the potato incident is just one that we thought was a good one because it did help out.
So the other thing we have to deal with is just compliance kind of things. Now, obviously you've got new excursion policies and procedures like come into effect. We've just moved our excursion process from central over to school bikes completely, and we needed to find a consistent way to actually review the risk assessments because they were pretty loose. We'll be honest, they were pretty loose, and I was like, how is this actually happening? So one of the things, if you haven't had a look at that policy document, it's massive. It's like 90 plus pages. And for you to actually quickly identify what part of the risk assessment, what part of the policy is actually not like crossed over, it's just a nightmare. So having reviewed this, the procedure itself, we implemented a new thing with school lights, and then I developed the excursion bot. This is only used by deputies who are reviewing the excursions, and all you do is you literally copy or download your risk assessment, you slap it in here and say, based on the excursion procedure and policy from the DOE, because I've loaded it into its knowledge bank, it's going to pick out, is there any fundamental issues? And I tested it with a Kosciuszko trip that went out, and it was interesting. It gave me 4 key points that it needed to address. There was like cultural issues, there was disability inclusion issues in that risk assessment. But the one thing, and this is where we want to be super transparent, it said, hey look, consider international sort of travel and restrictions, and because I hadn't uploaded it to say, hey, we're actually in the country. Because it was pulling from the policy, which was saying, what about international? So you just need to give context, and you know a good prompt is what you get out. If you don't prompt it well, you don't get a good response out. But that was just like literally a 30-second job, slap it in, gave me 4 points, and then that's a conversation with the teacher or the head teacher, whoever's running that excursion. But I just wanted to find a consistent way that we could review policy no matter who the deputy is and no matter what the excursion was, we could just quickly just review and save us a bunch of time and then have those conversations that we need to do.
The key is saving time.
That's it.
Yes. I did one for work cover. All the work cover in documents that are out. I just download them, put them in there, gave it a question that I had for a person who had a capacity certificate, and they gave me the answers beautifully by reading all that stuff that I didn't have to read and telling me the process that we need to follow. So it's just a matter of getting the documents collated and feeding them into it and then asking the right questions.
That's a new bot every time. Like
It's a different bot each time, yeah. You have a super bot and give it everything, but it's probably better to have a different one each time.
So there's all different ways to skin this cat in regards to, AI, like there's various different versions. But what I like to refer to is our minimum viable toolkit. Don't get inundated by, the thousands, the 31,000 are coming at you, and most of them will have a massive paywall, like secretly in the back end. Just pick the ones that work for you in your context. And this is one of them, because we've found it successful. You don't have to pay for it. It's easy to use. From a teaching and learning perspective, these are just a bunch that we've made. So we started off with personal subjects.
WHS one is really useful. When you get those federation tricky questions, we had to shut down a pretty geeky federation member who was saying some things that were just not true and getting everyone revved up. And so the WHS documents went into this bot, and I was able to put his questions in and said, no, actually, Matt, everything you're saying about psychosocial hazards, which does not appear here, that's wrong. We can't keep quoting that. And they had to shut it down. And I said, I read all the documents and this is the answers, but the bot did it.
So we got teachers doing it too, but we wanted to test it in class environments, not just in our leadership roles. So I've built a design tech one, Jared built, where is your physics one, I think?
Albert?
Yeah, Albert. And then we got a bunch of others. But
Albert 1905.
the cool thing with that is...
I am. I just on these ones. So, you know how you've got your 11, 12 class and you want to give them something because you're exhausted, and you say give them questions. They all got their laptops. I said, okay, here's 5 things in the groups. Use Albert, ask him all the questions, and then get the answers and summarise them and present it to me while I sit back and watch it. And it worked beautifully. And they all came out and go, this Albert knows everything. So I've fed in all the documents, all the physics documents, the syllabus, everything into it. And they just ask them questions, and it's a bit quirky, give him a bit of a personality.
I was going to say, I've had a bit of a play with it from your last presentation and created a bit of a behaviour bot. And I can see the updates is with ChatGPT 4.5 now fuel it as well.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed the responses, the way they put it, the emotional intelligence that's behind it is great. And I use it just a bit of a springboard to have a look at exactly what you were saying when you chat to those tricky parents, but also just to making sure in your head what you kind of came to, based on all the information, is kind of what the outcome should be. But it's great.
So ultimately, we are talking about Poe. This is the bot creator that we are talking about, and we're going to build one today. So there's just in summary, it's like you can ask questions, they're super quick. You can make custom consultants based on what you load it up with. If it's knowledge bank is policy driven, or if it's assessment, if it's learning, it doesn't really matter. You can create custom bots for anything. You've got to limit. It really depends on what you want.
Can I just say, I think you've heard that before about the ask a person from history, basically, like Albert Einstein. You can actually prompt that person to cite what they knew at that time. So they're actually like talking to him from 1920s, 1930s. So they're actually asking Albert Einstein about physics. So and that personality.
So when you actually select, and we'll go through all this, when you select the type of bot you want, there is a role play button where you can actually like have historical figures, or you can have like prominent people that you want to interact with. But for the purpose of what we're going to do is just a regular chatbot. Now, if you think of, everyone knows ChatGPT, that's just an insane chatbot. Basically, it's got all this knowledge bank in the back, and we're just making a mini custom version to our context. So as I said, there's multiple different ways we can come at this, but this is one that we found that's worked. And like Andy was saying, you can integrate with ChatGPT Claude, and they are ingraining these new models all the time. You just need to pick which one you want to use, and if you don't know, you just pick the one at the top. And then you'll see certain sort of limitations based on how much information you put in it. It's got a little token thing, and we'll explain this in a minute. But that determines on how much response you get from a specific day. But again, we're getting into the tactics, and we'll do that in a sec. So before we jump in, because we're about to, is there any sort of prominent questions you got?
Is it a risk of being shut down?
So, yeah, fantastic. We thought about the ethics, we thought about the risks. You probably would have seen DeepSeek, the email that came through from the department, you know, saying, do not use this at all costs. ChatGPT, Poe, Claude, all of those, they fall into the same category. This doesn't collect any of your personal data like DeepSeek, and a really good one that the teachers were using recently was called Brisk. It hooked into your Google Classroom, and then you could actually give feedback instantly within Google Docs and everything like that. The issue was it was accessing your entire Google Drive. This doesn't. This just uses your email to log in, and it's whatever you put into it. So it's not at a huge risk right now of getting removed, blocked, anything like that. From a student perspective, that can be a bit of a tricky trying to get them into it. So, you know, most of our students these days are running VPNs and all ways to get around the department. But just be aware, if you're wanting to do a student version, just test it with a student first before you build the entire thing. Make sure it's good to go. But overall, the ethical sort of use, it's up there with the other ones. Any other questions? Sweet. So you would have received an email from me at lunchtime. There's a couple of things. We're going to create a bot. You can create your own in whatever way you want, but we would suggest the one that's probably been the most beneficial for us as deputies is the behaviour bot, because it's 2-hour context, 2-hour behaviour management plans, 2-hour tiers of support, it's 2-hour processes, and then we've just loaded up the department's expectations and procedures. So, in that email, you'll find I've downloaded the department's policies for just quick downloads for you, because that's your knowledge bank that you're going to be using. But if you want to create a teaching and learning bot, awesome. You just need resources, whatever you want it to load.
So it accepts Word documents or PDFs? Does it accept PowerPoints?
I'm not sure, I haven't tested
But
that.
PDFs and Word documents are the main things that you would have to feed into. Not links. Okay. So anything from the department, because you can't download policies much anymore, but you can print. So you can print them to a PDF or a Word, and then save that, put it in there.
Yeah.
I've been trying to make my own department one, but it's just taking too long. Because the actual EduChat doesn't give you a lot. It's very vague. It's still not as good as this when you do the content specific.
So once you've sort of logged in, you're going to do this. We've got a simple structure, you know. You've got an overarching, there's only 5 steps, just get it clear. This is going to take less than 30 minutes. And actually you can build these in about 5. But there's 5 steps. Step 1, sign into Poe and start creating. Basically, you can use your education email, you can use Google email, it doesn't really matter. Just use something that you're happy to use. And then once you're in, you can follow these steps for success. You've opened your Poe, you signed in with your DT, your personal email, you're going to click create, which is this little button here. And then you're going to select the type of bot, which is a prompt bot. And once we're sort of up to speed on that, we'll move to the next bit. And if you have any questions, any hurdles, just let us know and we'll come around and give you a hand. So if you're a high achiever and you're smashing it already, just follow the steps. I'm going to take you through them, but just it's pretty intuitive. You'll be able to see what's on the front. You'll give it a name. You can always change it if you're up to that. All right, we might skip to the next slide. You'll see this come up once you click create and you've selected a prompt bot. You want to follow the next steps for success. You're going to select the bot name, e.g. the UHS behaviour bot. You're going to upload a picture, optional. You don't have to give it a profile picture, but if you want to do like Jared did with his Albert bot, you can put a picture, give it a bit of personality. Your description, this is just for people. It's not necessary for the bot itself. This is just a little description of what bot's going to help them with. So for my education ones, for my courses, I'll list out all the things for the students this can actually do for it. So for this context, you could just write, this is going to help reaffirm my decisions as a deputy. This is our main step. We need to define our bot's behavior. If we don't do this right, it doesn't really work. Okay, so this is the most confusing bit for any person who's new to AI. You're selecting your model for your base. And you're like, I don't know what Claude 3 haiku means. No one does. It's like they come up with these arbitrary names for all their models, and they're never sequential. They're never sort of, in order of like knowledge. So, Claude is fantastic for writing. Okay, it's really, really knowledgeable for writing. It's my main AI outside of this that I actually use for the most of my job. ChatGPT obviously is really, it's like sort of like the benchmark that everyone knows, everyone's used to it because they've got name, priority, they got there first. So choose one of those two. Any of them, doesn't really matter. If you want the latest ChatGPT, it's like 4.5, is it?
Yeah, it says it offers the preview.
Yeah. So one thing you'll notice is when you select, and you can change this again, you can change it anytime. When you select that bot base, it gives you a certain amount of tokens, and a token is like your money in your wallet. You've only got a certain amount in your pocket, in your wallet, so you can only use a certain amount a day. It's like budgeting how much you're going to spend on a holiday. You always want to blow the budget, but you can't because you've literally got nothing left. So it resets each day, which is fantastic. So when you pick it and you start using the bot and you see it's only got 50 tokens and you put in a prompt and it says it's used 35 of them, you might want to change your base bot. Some bots use more tokens than others, but it's just have a play. I use Claude or ChatGPT. That's my sort of get to go.
I've never run out of tokens on Poe yet, but I don't use it more than once or twice a day. So it's like a wallet that just keeps refilling up every day. And you're not paying money. This is free.
But you do pay if you do want to.
Yeah, if you want more points or more tokens, then you pay.
So each bot has tokens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've got 10 bots, you can.
Unlimited.
What if you're paying for chat?
It doesn't integrate.
No, it doesn't matter.
But you can create your own GPT in chat if you pay for chat GPT. And it's similar, but it doesn't have the same function and you need a lot more expertise to do it.
But I'd imagine that would be based on how well you've set up your bot in the first place,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Pretty much.
To, so that you don't have to keep prompting it.
That's exactly it. So this prompt is exactly that. This is where you can make it better, you can make it smaller. There's two types of prompting we just want to keep in mind, and I'm going to go a little bit more depth. So you've got reflective prompting, where you're asking the bot a clarifying question, and then you've got responsive prompting, where you're telling it to do something and it's going to respond to you. Okay, so in here, we want to do responsive prompting, where you're telling it exactly how you want it to act. If you don't know, this is the trick with AI, you don't know how you want this thing to act. You can literally open up any other one that you use, ChatGPT or whatever, and ask it, what is the best prompt I can use to make sure my referencing against this policy is actually going to work for me? And it'll give you the best prompt you can actually put in, and then you put it in. You don't have to know anything about prompting, you just need to ask it a clarifying question, and then it'll give you the exact response that you want. That's the biggest hack of any AI, of anyone else who tries to sell you a course on prompting. Just ask clarifying questions. I do it for my job. So once you've got a bit of a prompt, again, you can change that at any time. It can be a one-liner, but there's a simple framework you can use. What do you want it to do? How do you want it to present it? What is the limitations? Because limitations sort of enable accuracy. The more tight you bind it, the more accurate you're going to get. So that is the meat of how it operates. And this is where you can put in a bit of personality if you want it, super nerd talk, or you want it specifically to talk a certain language. Like for my teaching and learning bots, I've changed this to say write at an 8th grade level, no matter if it's stage 6 or it's any age. just because that means everyone can actually understand it. So you just put those kind of best sort of teaching sort of languages in there if you've got interacting with students. All right. I know we're going to go really quick through this bit, but the next section, and we're coming down to here, you can copy if you've got an education model, I've sent you this, which is the AI bot guidelines, and that's what I give my student bots, because I don't want them to be racist, I don't want them to do all these unethical things. So because I've prompted it with that and I slapped that as my rules and procedures, they can't actually use the bot unethically.
I tested that with the Albert one. So I wrote in some things that were inappropriate and it shut me down pretty quickly in its own little quirky way. And the physics class, I think some of them would have tried, but it didn't allow them to go any further. Basically said, I'm not going to talk about that. So they got bored with it.
So again, that's optional, but it's how your bot reacts, and you can change it anytime. The big bit, this is where you can do little or you can do huge, and that's why I've given you the department's policies, and if you can access your behaviour management policy or your way you're supporting your students, this is where you put it. It's called your knowledge base. This is where you upload everything. Now, if you try to upload 10 documents at once, it might go, oh, I can't handle that. So just do 3 or 4. But that has got a pretty large storage capacity. So, to give you context, I've built over the last 9 years of teaching design and technology a massive website that goes along my Google Classroom, and I just scraped it for all of the core information and I moved it into the chatbot, and it fit, and it's massive. So you can put as little or as much as you want. If it's for a specific purpose, that's what we use ours for. You can see we've made a bot for all different things rather than one general. Yeah.
How did you do that?
How did I?
Like you said that you scraped it from the website, so I can imagine whether you've got a website yourself or whether you're going to use a departmental website.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
So there's a couple of ways, but if it's department, the easiest way is you go to the department page and you'll see there's always a print button, and just go print as PDF. And because I've got Google Sites, so this is how I do my teaching, I can just go in and just literally copy, maybe switch to HTML, copy all the code out, and stuff in there.
So it's copy the code.
Yeah, because it can read code no matter what bot you choose. So if you ever jumped into the Pose sort of how to use guide, it'll actually suggest you put code in here, but it's a bit above most people just playing around with it. So I wouldn't get stuck up on that. All right.
So you chuck your documents in, Word, PDFs, all that sort of stuff. You've made a behaviour bot, you put in a few files there. And you can edit this at any time when you find new documents and add to it. So you can keep updating it as it goes along. I guess I'm right in saying the person who develops it can edit it. That's it. Yeah.
That's only you can edit it.
Only I can edit it. I developed it, yeah. So if you're doing one for your kids, then they can't change it or muck around.
Just a little bit of a tip. If you're downloading all these things for your knowledge bank, just save them in a Google folder somewhere, because like all other AIs, you can't actually re-download from the knowledge bank. You can't upload it and then download it from the knowledge bank. It's like in other AIs that call it, you can't do that. You'll have project files that are huge and you can't download all the stuff you've already loaded into it. So just keep all your knowledge bank in a Google folder somewhere, just in case you ever wanted to recreate, edit, or give it to somebody else so they can do the same. The last bit is the greeting message. It's again optional. This is where you can have a bit of fun with it, especially if it's only a bot for you. So I'll leave this page up. The last 2 steps. Step 4 is optional. Step 5 is where we get to start playing with it. So happy to answer questions while I'm building this up.
No, you go.
Can we go back to the prompts?
Yeah.
What would you say? So I'm using your documents.
Yep.
I'm a DP in a New South Wales school, that's the first prompt, yeah, you're a DP. And
Yeah,
can
you can give it that
be
context.
explicit with that so I can just type it?
Yeah, for sure. So you want to give it a role?
Yeah,
You are acting as a deputy principal in a New South Wales school.
yeah.
Once you've got the role, then you can go to what its task is going to be, or what its sort of context you're going to give it. You're going to help review policy, procedures for the DOE against your school's policy and procedures.
In a front or?
In the prompt one.
Okay, good. Can you say that again, solo?
Yeah. I should have prompted.
You are or I am a deputy principal?
You are, because you're telling it what it is.
It's telling it what it is.
Yep. And one of your tasks is going to be reviewing policy procedure for the DOE against whatever your high school is policy and procedure. So you've got those. That's one sole task.
It can be as vague as I think. You can answer questions using policies and procedures,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. It will understand.
It's pretty intuitive.
In its database.
If you want to present it to you in a certain way, like you love to read documents because it's easy for you to skim, or you love a table, or you love a paragraph, you can explicitly say that here, or you can say that when you actually start using it. It doesn't matter.
I kept my prompt really simple.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really do
For our context in this, I keep that super small. For students, I make that really explicit, and that's why I gave it a 5.
What else would you add to that or leave it as that?
I'd probably leave it for now, and then if you wanted to, you could like outline certain tasks.
Yeah.
Like, we know that AI's got bias. We know that AI can hallucinate, meaning make stuff up.
Yes.
So you explicitly say it in here. You are not to hallucinate. You're only to you tell it. You explicitly instruct this thing.
No digital drug use.
Yeah. Do not hallucinate. Only use the supplied knowledge bank. Because the word generative, it's generating something. It's not a search engine. So it's got a knowledge and it's generating what things you are asking it to do.
If I said only use supplied knowledge bank and, because I'm using ChatGPT
Yep. And
information, like,
Yeah,
otherwise it would only isolate the documents,
Yeah.
without its general knowledge.
Yeah,
it's basically.
and you could say like, only use the knowledge bank and ChatGPT model or the base model, or you could sort of just leave it. You say use the knowledge bank as reference to support your thinking. But again, like you can, once you've actually created this, you can ask it, like ask the bot, what else do you need to know from me to help you make a concise decision? So if you've done, let's just come back and we'll just move through a bit quicker and then you can start playing around. Okay? So step 4. So I get have a look up here for just a quick second. This is an optional step, however, it can be a very important one depending on your context. So you'll see this button, this toggle button that says advanced. This custom temperature, this is what we're talking about hallucinations. The higher that number is, the more like sort of varying the responses will be. The lower that number is, the more sort of direct they're going to be to what you've asked them. Okay, so if you click advanced and you are actually referencing policy and procedure, you want to bring that bar closer to the 0 mark. If you're like doing creative stuff, put it all the way up there. It doesn't have to be, or you could just leave it at default and you can see how it operates and then you can change it. But again, that's optional step.
I didn't know that existed, so I didn't use that. So I must have left it at the default, I guess.
And the default's half-half,
Yeah.
so it'll be 50. All right, we're going to move to the last step because it's literally one button. You're done. Just click publish.
Does the default change, sorry, with, because I've got the ChatGPT 4.5 and my default, that's 0.35, so does it depend on who's feeding it and where that default sits?
Yeah,
I think so.
that's interesting. Because most of mine have been in that 0.5, so it's interesting because you're using the latest model, ChatGPT. Is it more accurate because it's just pulling from a larger knowledge bank? Not too sure.
Does that count as
Cool.
the message?
Yeah, so this is the tokens we're talking
Tokens.
about. So they'll all be different depending on what model that you chose. Claude 3.5 or
Depends on the
ChatGPT.
base spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
edit
that
it
your
and
base
change
spot's
it.
more expensive.
Okay.
So Gordon, in
Yep.
terms of making it publicly accessible,
That's totally up to you as
as a
well.
related recommendation.
So I have some public, most private, depending if it's just me using it. So if this is just going to be you, you can set it private. But the cool thing is private, you can actually still share it to other deputies and they can still access it as long as they got the link. But if it's public, Poe has got a huge amount of chatbots being created. You can actually search for specific things. Like you want a tutor for this thing, or you want a life coach in this thing, or you want a financial plan in this. You can search them all if they're made public. So your choice.
Can people see your previous questions if it's public?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
No. Did we say yes?
No, we tested
No,
it yesterday.
okay.
We just
But
made
will your
sure.
read prompts and further questions and clarifying affect?
No. So it's not like a large language model that stores anything.
We see it.
Other
We
than-
see your own history.
You can see this. This is one of my, from my history. There was a violent incident I needed parent communication help with. But Jared can't see that.
Okay.
And I couldn't see his potato incident. So unless he shared it with me. And that's that button just there. So if you've gotten to this point, well done, amazing effort. And now you can just test it. What I recommend before you forget about Poe and all the rest of it, just click that little star icon up the top right hand of your corner and bookmark it on your bar so you know it's there. Because really, your judgment in your role is still what you're relying on heavily. This is just the thing just to back up your thinking. Because you are, professional teacher judgment is what we always talk to our teachers. It's exactly the same for our decision making. This just reinforces what you're looking at. All right, guys, we've had a bit of a time to create. We've had a bit of a play. I've got at the end of this, we'll do one little activity as just a bit of a takeaway. But after that, I've got a QR. If you want to give us some feedback of what worked well for you, all those kind of things, that'd be fantastic. And if you do that, you'll get an automatic link to all the bots Jared and I have created. And there's like a Google Doc, and you've got like...
There's a prize.
Yeah.
Gift at the end.
That's
Gift on gift.
Do we have these slides too, sorry?
Yeah.
So with a bot that you've created, if it is specific to your school,
Yeah.
we can't go in and change your
I was just-
SMB whatever
I
for
was
ours.
just discussing that
Yeah.
and to see if we can duplicate the bot. And if I can, if I can do that, I'll email everyone on Monday.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Save all the work.
We'll
Did you
clone
sign
it.
to do on the weekend?
Oh, that's us. This is what I do in the springtime anyway.
The thing is,
Sorry.
like, it took a bit of time today to make it because you had to go through each step. Once you make one, it's like riding a bike. It's really quick. It's easy to make a second one. The biggest thing is making sure you've got all your related documents together to load into it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the biggest thing. That takes the time.
Where do you store, where's the best place that you found to store them? Do you just put them on the drive?
Yeah.
I have one drive.
Can you ask, not necessarily it, but another AI, like if you missed a document, like could you say I'm acting as a PhD head teacher in a school, I want to be checking my risk assessments or whatever, what document do I need to reference, and at least it,
That's a fantastic prompt. You put that in there and it'll list out all the things that you
Yeah.
recommend.
okay,
And then you can go, if these aren't relevant, what else?
yeah, okay.
And then you can upload them into the knowledge
So
base.
it would tell me what they are and where they are, and I could just go,
It wouldn't tell you where they are,
okay, just tell me what they are.
what they are.
Okay,
Because as I said, it doesn't have access to the internet or your drive,
yeah.
unless you use
Yeah.
finish off.
You go to the back and grab a Jenga and go back to your circle. You can finish off with one little thing. Hit you up again. Sorry. Grab a Jenga. Okay. Everyone's got one Jenga. Anyone can go first. No order here. You're putting your Jenga down. We're building a tower. Okay. With your suggestions. So your first thing is what went well. Put your Jenga down, and what you're going to do next. Anyone can go first.
Like getting to have a look at what it can do, that was a positive, and I'm going to download every single one of those documents. That's my next step.
That's what I like to see. Man in data.
Look, just enjoyed the fact that it gave us some time to think about something that's going to make our job simpler in the long run. Risk assessments and some of those things take up a lot of time, and to have that knowledge bank, I've always said you just can't have it in your head. So, and it'd be nice to have a quick reference. So
You always think you're going to miss one thing.
exactly right in the wording, and somebody's picking up on that. So it was nice to have that. What I'm going to do next is hopefully they get duplicated so I can make it even quicker for myself. And risk assessment, behavioural, SBSMP in there, and then thinking about how I could utilise a bot for teaching and learning assessment practices for quality assessment. How can we make it simpler for staff members to possibly have a quick reference guide? So,
Got a lot on your plate there.
Before it gets too technical, I really enjoyed the demystifying nature of what AI is and those little bots. What I want to do next is create some for my extension classes for students, and also some for myself with the many things we're about to implement. So, thank you.
I really enjoyed building knowledge in that area. I hadn't really thought of the applications for my role, so I just really look forward to having a play and putting some stuff in and getting some good results on a daily basis from it. So yeah, thank you so much.
No problems.
I really enjoyed the creative element of creating a little personality, my inner personality, if you know what I mean, maybe. But then just the accessibility of it, and I'm really looking forward to, as a lifelong Luddite, being able to go back and say, guess what I did, and I've got this knowledge base, and how amazing.
Fantastic.
I like the idea of working smarter, not harder, as most of us do. So thanks both of you for sharing that. It's always great, and I think I just want to do the same. We're going to play and see what we need, or what I need will be determined by what happens next, I guess, and play in a logical way to get things done and build them as we go. Yeah, so it's great.
Thank you for your explicit teaching. It was really easy to follow, and when you had just 5 little steps, even I caught on. So I'm looking forward to going back and showing my exec. It's just 5 little steps, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. Let's make a bot. So thank you.
You got 4 of them.
Oh, look, I do like to.
Lots of
yeah, no,
shadow.
all right, good. Let's go with that. I tried to fill in the gaps.
Tony, do you make it hard?
Building
Lopsided,
last
get lopsided.
Yeah, I was appreciative of the time that you guys obviously put behind this and been working on it, and be able to consolidate that into a little snack bite for us, and then providing time and we could ask some questions as well. And I've used it for the behaviour side of things from your previous presentation, and it's been a great springboard. I'm really interested to see in the learning space and start looking at that. So that's my where to now.
Tip is to work down the cat club for a couple of years, and we
Yeah.
just went really
Look, I think it was just nice a way to kind of make information simpler and remind you that you don't need to know it all if you can access it all. And as I actually made one with a little bit of a classroom spin, and it was nice to see where it can lead me on in the future.
I just want to say ditto everybody else, but like EduChat has been good in terms of drafting emails and stuff like that. So to see something else, like especially I really resonate with that reading stuff, like to not have to read all of that stuff. And yeah, and I guess just to sit down this weekend perhaps and start playing around more and see what happens. Why did I do it left-handed? That was risky.
It's got to go on top.
Left-handed.
It's got to go up.
So just for me, it was just knowing that together we've got 3 of us here as a team, and that we're all on the same page, and we've got something that we can access and use together and work and develop. And a little bit like Dale, I thought that we really were being encouraged to just be using EduChat, and I've been waiting for there to be, you know, advancements in that space. But knowing it's okay to use a bot or develop a bot and put those documents in, it has been great.
Well, yeah, thanks heaps to everyone. Really appreciate your efforts and your feedback. If there's anything else you would like to give us, there's a QR code up there. If you take a couple of minutes, it'd be fantastic. As I said, once you've done it, you'll get an automatic and you'll get all the rest of our ones. But if you're happy to share your ones that you've created, even if they're only like 90% completed and you're like, oh, it's not perfect yet, feel free to stick them into the form, and we can disseminate them out if you're happy to do that. If not, leave it blank, no stress. But yeah, thanks for your efforts, everyone. Appreciate it.
Do you have a certificate for both of you, no chocolate?
So as soon as you complete the form,
I'll give you a beer.
will come up and just copy that link.
Oh, I didn't even look at that.
And all the ones that will hold.
Right, so they're not like a icon or something that sits on your desktop.
So then you can portfolio.
I'm using this file, I'm using this file, I'm using this one.
I usually do,
Well done.
I save it as bookmark and then I'll have all mine.